Hey guys, Games here again. This is going to be what if Tanjiro was the reincarnation of Yoriichi. Now, with this, basically, Tanjiro, I'm pretty sure he's a descendant of one of Yoriichi's friends that Yoriichi passed on Hanafuda earrings to. Well, this time, Tanjiro is actually a direct descendant of Yoriichi, which would be his like great grandchild or something like that, around those lines. Like he'd be one of Yoriichi's many grandchildren. Great grandchildren. But screw it. Now, eventually, one of the main things that would be established is Tanjiro be an orphan. Like Yoriichi's bloodline is almost extinct by the time Tanjiro is born. He's like the last member of it, besides his parents. As the parents, like really, like Tanjiro's dad was already really sick, and his dad did die. His mother was able to live a little bit longer, but not that much longer. He was able to make herself hold on until Tanjiro didn't need to be breastfed. But after that was done, he was passed down to his family friends. That would be Nezuko's family. But I have to pause one more time. Not all one more time, just have to pause real quick. Sorry. Okay, so in this one, by the way, Tanjiro's aged up a bit, like around the same age as Sanemi and Kane, because older Tanjiro's in school. So, originally Tanjiro is, so, currently Tanjiro would be like, or I'm pretty sure Kane and Sanemi are the same age, so this would lead to basically Kane being 21 when the story starts along with Sanemi. And not when the story starts, when we first meet them, they'd be 21. And Tanjiro would be like 15 or 16, so 4 or 5 years older. So, I guess the time Nezuko was like 14, he'd be like 19. And yeah. So basically when we go to Tanjiro when he's actually 8 years old, Nezuko would be like 2. And when Tanjiro would actually kind of meet the family properly, well, not properly, he's already known them for a few years, when he's just like starting to get all his functions properly, he would be progressing a lot faster than most kids. Like, usually kids are in this starting to read. Tanjiro knew how to read by the time he was 3. Tanjiro could already speak by the time he was 1. He could walk by the time he was only a few months old. He could walk really good by the time he was a few months old. He's doing way better than kids his age should be doing. And eventually, Tanjiro would discover, like, by the time he's 10, he would discover martial arts. And as he discovers martial arts, he kind of would just learn Krav Maga, which is kind of like fighting style that would, I don't know if I'm confused with another martial art, but Krav Maga is one of the styles that would allow you to use your surroundings in a battle. And then Takemichi. So Tanjiro would learn Krav Maga, he would learn Jiu-Jitsu, and Judo. Yes, even martial arts may not exist yet, I don't care, they do now. And Aikido and Iaido. So you don't see these martial arts. Martial arts are very beneficial in hand-to-hand combat, but also beneficial in swordsmanship. And when he did hear that 2 of martial arts he knows are very beneficial in swordsmanship, he was actually begin practicing as a swordsman. And Yoriichi's prodigal genes would kick in, along with many other generations of sword prodigies. So Tanjiro would instantly be a god with the sword, and by the time he is 12, he's already one of the best swordsmen in his part of the country. And keep in mind, he is 12. So Nezuko is like, so let's say like, I assume she would be, let's check this real quick. So Tanjiro is 6 years older, Nezuko would be 7 years younger. So Tanjiro is 12, Nezuko is 5. And eventually does like pass down swordsmanship throughout the whole family, and he'll learn the dance of the fire god, just the actual dance from his like stepfather or his adopted father. And Tanjiro would learn the sun breathing style. Tanjiro through time would actually learn the full like breath of the sun god style. And when he does learn it, he wasn't taught it. He just kind of learned, like he kind of just mimicked techniques he had thought of in dreams or thought would be very good. And let me go to when he is 15. By the time he is 15, Tanjiro will decide he wants to leave. But the only reason he wants to leave is because his adopted father had already died, family's already not too well off. But Tanjiro actually has been hiding lots of money. The only reason he's been hiding lots of money is because he doesn't want them to blow it all out at once. Yes, he'll give them some of it, but now that he has actually just saved up so much to the point where they can be considered nobles, Tanjiro would write a note to Nezuko, as she's able to read pretty well now. He's taught them all how to read, despite them not being, like, some of them aren't supposed to be able to read yet, and he taught them how to read. So left them a note, and he let them all like their own individual, like, hey, I'm sorry I had to leave, but I can no longer have you guys deal with the burden of me. I'm old enough to handle myself in the wilderness now, and I'm old enough to fend for myself. You guys can be without me. I left a lot of money under my bed. You guys can just go under it. You can take all the money. This should be enough for you guys to be pretty well off. So let's go find it and give it to her mother. She finds this note, give it to her mother. Mother would lose Tanjiro's bed, then pick up his mats and find all the money. Takes it, and with just because Tanjiro had told her to, Tanjiro's money was actually worth, let's say, let me pause real quick. Okay, so Tanjiro would have given his family 100 million yen, and yes, it's a lot of money, but he did a lot of odd jobs with his body being really strong and fast. Like, he'd like, by horse, it would take us a few days to deliver this letter, but you're faster than an average horse. So you could probably get it there in at least half that time, maybe a little more than half, but still faster than a regular horse. Tanjiro would like run and deliver letters as fast as possible, and due to him having a lot of stamina, he would actually get there in around half the time of a normal horse, which the reason he does beat normal horse because of just stamina. Yes, he's pretty fast, but still. But now, so Tanjiro leaves only 100 million yen. 100 million yen, so I assume that might be like between like $8 and $10 million in total. And counting inflation, that's like 600 million yen now, maybe even more. But basically, he left his family almost billionaires. Well, yen billionaires. But yeah. Now, the family already knew, everyone already knew Tanjiro's family was just pretty well off. It was just, people knew he was saving the money for his family, so they didn't waste it all in one go on him. So, yeah, he needed to take some of the money for himself just so he could get himself some better clothes. And the clothes we see him having right here, that's what he wears. Non-food earrings, they were given to him by his adopted father because they originally belonged to his family. But yeah, Tanjiro will be exploring the world now, as he is able to get himself his own sword. And the sword is not a Nichiren blade, but the way Tanjiro uses it, it might as well be. Yes, it won't do the same amount of damage, but his just sheer strength, speed, and technique, you will be amazed. Now, Tanjiro would be wandering through the woods, and he would come across a boy by the name of Sanemi. As soon as one of his parents died when he was like 13, so he might be in the woods 2 years by now. He does come across Sanemi, and when he comes across Sanemi is just fighting a demon. Now, eventually, the demon is about to hit Sanemi in the face, and Tanjiro tells him it's going to be a fatal blow. So Sanemi is about to just brace for his life to end. Suddenly, he would realize a hand is grabbing his face. And then suddenly his hand would be trying to throw him away as he looks up, seeing Tanjiro's fist punch the demon's face. Tanjiro looked at Sanemi as Tanjiro, so Sanemi at this point is like 15. He's the same as Tanjiro, so 15. But Sanemi, compared to Tanjiro, is around 5'6", while Tanjiro is 6 foot. So Sanemi is able to just see this massive boy standing over him, while the demon is cowering in fear that someone had this much strength over him. Tanjiro then proceeds to pick up the demon, throw him as high as he can in the air, as the sun had risen. The demon is being burned alive, and as he hits the ground, his head sliced off by Tanjiro, and his head would roll into the raining sunlight as he is burned away. Sanemi and Tanjiro proceed to talk, as Sanemi is more hot-headed than Tanjiro, but does thank Tanjiro. As they talk for a bit, Tanjiro offers to be Sanemi's bodyguard, but in exchange for a few dollars, or a few yen. Sanemi does agree to this, saying, alright then, well, how about this, you just go to town to defeat demons if you want. Tanjiro agrees to this, as now they would keep going through the woods, and Tanjiro had heard about a town nearby that it's had trouble with some boars, because they've already done a lot of demon jobs, so they want a more chill one. The way they beat demons is just through just hanging them in trees until the sun comes out. Tanjiro sometimes cute to restrain demons if Sanemi already tied one up with the chains. So, yeah. And they did this for a few months. Tanjiro is about to be 16. Sanemi had already turned 16. Sanemi and Tanjiro are basically brothers now, and Tanjiro knows about Genya. And he was able to find out where Genya was, just Sanemi didn't really care too much to know where Genya was. But, yeah. Now, where they're going through the woods, they would find out about the boars, and the location of where most of the boars are. Tanjiro goes to eliminate these boars. He goes to kill the first boar, but suddenly, just a giant rock would hit his sword. Tanjiro's able to basically slash the rock cleanly in half. And he bought Sanemi a sword and teaching him how to use it properly. And did teach Sanemi, he tried to teach Sanemi the breath of the sun, but Sanemi kind of developed the breath of the wind through Tanjiro. So, yeah. Pause real quick, sorry. So, by the way, Tanjiro kind of if he chose to want to learn more style, if he trying to develop more techniques, he just doesn't do it because he sees no need currently. If he developed more techniques, he would learn every other breathing style. He did teach Sanemi some different styles that would fit Sanemi more physically, but Sanemi was able to develop breath of the wind through this. But yeah, back to their current incident. So Tanjiro would have had a giant rock on a sword, but Tanjiro slices it in half, and he looks to see who threw the rock, seeing a small boy. What he thought was a boy, and it looks like a girl. But he could already tell it was a boy again by looking at the chest. He says, "Oh, you're a boy." Tanjiro says, "Wait, that's a boy in the face, though." Tanjiro says, "Don't worry, I've seen plenty pretty men." Inosuke's actually kind of shocked because first off, he was called a boy, then a man, then just random things like Tanjiro. But Inosuke says, what did you do to the boar? Leave it alone." Tanjiro says, "Well, we were hired to kill it. And plus we need food." Inosuke gets mad and tries to say, "No, you can't kill it, it's my parent. Those are my family." Tanjiro begins thinking, saying, this can be hard to do. Because Tanjiro can tell Inosuke was not lying about the boars being his biggest family. He says, "Alright, how about this? We relocate these boars and kill some different ones. How about that?" So Inosuke kind of agrees to this, as the boars are relocated, and some of the different ones are killed. Now, Inosuke will actually question why Tanjiro is willing to be nice to him, so Sanemi. Tanjiro says, if you were raised by these boars like you say, then I cannot kill them, because I'd feel awful. Inosuke gets mad at Tanjiro for showing pity and tries to punch Tanjiro. The punch lands. Inosuke's hand hurts. It's like punching a giant stone wall. And not Tanjiro. Inosuke is holding his hand like it's bright red. Well, not like it is bright red. And Tanjiro looks at Inosuke saying, "You have an interest in martial arts or fighting in general?" Inosuke nodded, saying he loves swords as he's seen some samurai pass through here one time, and he was just obsessed. Then Inosuke holds up his very badly made serrated blades, as Tanjiro would then actually say, "Do you have any other swords?" As Inosuke would just hold up some swords that he found off corpses, and Tanjiro says, "Alright then, well, by the way, how'd you find these swords?" Inosuke says, these quote-unquote samurai try to hunt animals, and these animals kill them." Tanjiro nods, saying, "Alright then." Tanjiro would then actually proceed to make Inosuke's original serrated blades, and make them the way Inosuke would prefer. As he makes them, he proceeds to teach Inosuke some fighting styles, and Sanemi would proceed to help, as Sanemi is like they're both hot-headed, Sanemi and Inosuke. So Sanemi is a better teacher, or is more suited. So as Inosuke would learn, he learned Breath of the Beast, or beast breathing, and is a lot more proficient in it. But first off, Tanjiro already knew how to basically do the constant breathing technique. He learned that, and just to learn breathing style, he taught that. This would be more proficient. He taught it to Sanemi by accident, literally by accident. He taught it to Sanemi. Then Sanemi accidentally taught it to Inosuke. So they're already pretty good at it. And Tanjiro did have the test where you can just breathe into a giant pot, and if it just goes boom, you can do it. If it just explodes. But now, as they continue exploring, they would come across a boy in the woods being attacked by demons. This boy is actually being bombarded and about to be killed by them. But Tanjiro actually proceeds to save the boy from these demons by slashing their chest wide open, and almost exposing their insides. Let's pause real quick, sorry. Okay, so as they take this boy from demons, suddenly a man in a mask would come walking out, saying, "What the hell are you doing here? And how'd you get up my mountain?" Tanjiro looked closer to the man, saying, "It would be someone by the name of Orokodaki." Tanjiro had heard of Orokodaki from the village down the hill, or down the mountain. You know what that? Heard about him from people down the mountain. As they said, he's kind of hermit. He has a few kids up there that he trains. This kid referring to Sabito, Giyu, and Mokomo. And what he had saved happened to be Giyu. While Sabito and Mokomo come around and would question who Tanjiro and Sanemi and Inosuke are. And Sabito, being he says at first saying, "If you guys don't leave, I'll kill you." Inosuke would immediately pick up Sabito and throw him into a tree full force, almost breaking his back. Now, Orokodaki can immediately tell that Inosuke was a different breed of beast despite being so small and young. But then he would quickly realize that Sabito was out cold from that throw. Then he looks at Tanjiro and Sanemi, realizing that Tanjiro is the strongest. He can tell by this. Because Sanemi and Inosuke are showing undying loyalty and waiting for Tanjiro's order to attack. Or Tanjiro doesn't know they're waiting for his order, but everyone else can tell that they're waiting for his attack, for his command. Eventually, Orokodaki says, "You with the red hair, are you their leader?" Before Tanjiro can say, "No, he's not," someone says, "Yes, he is. He's our sensei." And says, "Huh? Why am I the leader? Why am I the leader? You're the oldest." Someone says, "Shut up." But Tanjiro just listens, saying, "All right then. Well, I guess I'm the leader." Orokodaki blushly grabbed Gyu's sword, saying, "I challenge you to a duel." Tanjiro would nod, saying, "Should we use wooden swords?" Orokodaki says, "No, bite like you want to kill me." This is something that says, "That's me a problem. This bastard doesn't even want to kill demons. He should just mainly fights off demons because he's hired to, or they're attacking someone first, or attacking him first." So Orokodaki tells, "Oh, this is just someone who defends, not attacks. Or only attacks because he's heard reports of them attacking first." So basically just in self-defense, in his own defense or in someone else's defense. That's why he fights. But yeah, so Orokodaki would attack first. Tanjiro just blocked all the strikes like they're nothing. Then Orokodaki would go for Inosuke and Sanemi. That's when Tanjiro would actually just kind of slash the sword that that Orokodaki is holding, and for the first time would actually use water breathing and slice the sword to pieces, which does shock Orokodaki, Sanemi, Inosuke, Sabito, Gyu, and Mokomo. But yeah, as the sword was sliced apart, Tanjiro would actually stab at Orokodaki, but stop right as it would pierce his shirt, and his haori and his shirt. Not right as it would pierce that, but it stops at his skin. Tanjiro says, "Well, I did fight like I wanted to kill you, but I win." Orokodaki kind of froze, realizing Tanjiro could have killed him if he wanted to. But he could already tell Tanjiro was holding back with this Tanjiro using no effort at all. Because water breathing, Tanjiro is very, very precise and strong, and very, very precise, fast, and strong. That's what he's all about for fighting. And Orokodaki would actually offer to teach Tanjiro water breathing, which he describes what it is, and Sanemi says, water breathing. The technique I use, I think I would call it wind breathing, because I use the wind all around me. So Orokodaki would ask to see it, as he can confirm this is wind breathing style. So he would then proceed to teach Tanjiro water breathing. In reality, Tanjiro already had these techniques in mind. It was just he never had the need to use them. Says he had done these, he already learned most water breathing in the span of 4 days. And he had mastered it. He even did Gyu's 11th form. I'm pretty sure it was the 11th form. But he did that, and he even taught it to Gyu. Him and Gyu got along pretty well, because they were both very quiet and reserved. But Tanjiro still had confidence, had emotion. He's able to give that to Gyu. Sabito and Mokomo got along pretty well with Inosuke and Sanemi. And as they talked for a bit, they were able to just oh yeah, okay, you guys are older than us, we see you as our big brothers. Well, not Inosuke, they see him as they're equal despite being the youngest. But with this, Tanjiro says, "Alright, well, so far, only person that I think is worthy of being a demon slayer, they learn what they are. The person that he thinks is worthy of being a demon slayer is Gyu." Now, Sabito is immediately pissed off to attack Tanjiro, but would ask why. Tanjiro explains Tanjiro made his own technique and taught to Gyu, and Gyu learned it effortlessly, while Sabito and Mokomo are still struggling with it. Even Orokodaki is. And as Orokodaki would actually admit, saying, "Yes, the technique is very complex, while someone who someone who doesn't falter no matter what would learn this technique effortlessly." So Sabito's "So we have to lack emotions?" Tanjiro says, "No, not that. We have to basically lack fear no matter what. Yes, it's good to have fear, but it's not good to show it. So basically just hide your fear, but also keep your confidence. That's kind of what makes you calm in a way. And that's how you learn. You don't have to learn it that way, but you have to get stronger that way." So as he tells him that, Sabito and Mokomo understand, as Mokomo would do it first. After 2 weeks, she's able to do it. And then Saito, after a month, would be able to do it. Tanjiro had turned 16 during this time. Inosuke is like, so he's the same age as Tanjiro and Kanan, 6 years younger. So Inosuke is almost 10 years old. And yes, I said that he beat Saito the first time they met, just by sheer physical strength. And just in case, because he was worried about them being hurt physically by demons if they lost their sword, he taught them all hand-to-hand martial arts. Sanemi was just a literal physical beast, and Inosuke was just a wild, just like... So Tanjiro mainly taught Inosuke jujitsu, because Inosuke is strong enough, he can tear a demon's limbs off in the middle of the hold. So that could work well for him. Well, he taught Makomo basically just like... He gave her a lighter sword and just taught her to be more precise, as his dead calm ability was good for that. But also taught her how to find weak points. And yes, by the way, I don't want to say yes, but Tanjiro would have the same ability as Yoriichi to see into the see-through world, I guess we could say, because he can see where to cut people. And one of Tanjiro's only thing that he's lacking that he hides is he's losing eyesight quickly. Very quickly. Like, it is scary. But he's losing his ability to see. But he won't be completely blind, like Fujitora blind, but it'll be very, very, very hard for him to see normally. That's why he has the see-through world. And the only person that he told Sanemi about like see-through world, was Sanemi. He wants to tell Inosuke, but it's worried Inosuke is going to try too hard to learn it. But yeah, now back to this whole thing. And as they're about to leave, Rokudaki was able to learn how to use the 11th form, and Tanjiro even taught him the see-through world. Sabito, Makomo, and Gyu took the Demon Slayer exam and passed pretty easily. Sabito and Makomo did not die, as when Sabito encountered the demon with multiple limbs, he killed it and kind of did the same thing as Tanjiro did in canon, because they kind of gained a Tanjiro-like personality. It's just they're more confident and just very more not as emotional, you could say, but they still did have the mercy and kindness to do as a demon would ask what they felt. Yeah, so Gyu is more like, I would say, he's more like Gyome minus all the crying and religion. That's really it. Like he's very proud, very happy, very just doesn't cry as much. That's really it. Like, I guess he does cry sometimes, like a little more, because he does like to hide his emotions a bit, so no one is worried about him at all. Same with Makomo, but Makomo is a lot similar to Mitsuri, and then Saito is more like Sanemi, just not as loud. But yeah, so Tanjiro proceeds to travel the world with Sanemi and Inosuke, and eventually Sanemi would actually meet. Let me pause real quick, take my his name. So Sanemi would actually meet Kumeno still, and Chishio would ask Tanjiro if Tanjiro would take the Demon Slayer exam with him. But Tanjiro explained that no, he would not be taking exams, as he wants to find out any style he can possibly, any breathing style he can possibly. Any style of breathing he can possibly learn, he wants to learn it. Cleaning on my nose, it's annoying. But basically, he wanted to learn, he learned water breathing, sun breathing, wind breathing, beast breathing. He mastered all those forms. He even made up his own versions of them. Wind breathing, one of his techniques is more just like, well, how do I say this? Well, it's like a mixture of thunder breathing, but also wind breathing. He calls it the hurricane form. That's what he does. Basically, he would jump down, spin full speed, but also throw his blade. As the blade would hit its target, he would dash forward, grab it, and proceed to slash his opponent rapidly in random places. Well, the opponent would think they're random, but in reality, they're the weakest points on the opponent. And no, they're not deep slashes, but they if you try to move as these slashes are hit, your body will just kind of burst because these slashes connect into just one giant pattern that would make you fall apart. So kind of like scissor art, you could say. Like if you just tear one wrong spot, the whole thing would kind of tumble down. But yeah, so Sanemi would leave with Kumeno. Sanemi understands why Tanjiro isn't going, because Tanjiro's whole thing is just learning more about swordsmanship so we can protect Inosuke. Tanjiro sees Inosuke as his own son, and Inosuke sees Tanjiro as his father, despite them being very close in age. But yeah, so they proceed exploring, and they do eventually come across a boy by the name of Zenitsu. Zenitsu would be hanging out with a few women, as these women were older than him, but he's still trying to persuade them to date him. Not as bad as he is in canon, because he doesn't have that much woman trauma. By this point, Inosuke had turned 10 years old, leaving Zenitsu to be 11. But eventually these women leave Zenitsu, and Zenitsu's a little sad, until he realizes that these women are talking to Tanjiro. We think what's so special about him, until they start poking his muscles, asking me how much can he lift. Inosuke then says, "Ugh, ladies, if you think he's strong, look at me." Well, not like that, but he's like, "Oh, I'm strong too." He lifts up a giant wheelbarrow with a bull alongside it, and says, "Big bro, Tanjiro can do double this." And Tanjiro says, "If you want actual stats, Inosuke, I can do quadruple that." Inosuke says, "Yeah, quad whatever." Women are impressed, as Tanjiro easily lifts up a bowl with one hand. As Inosuke was struggling to this, Inosuke was struggling. Tanjiro lifts up a wheelbarrow and a bowl with each in one hand. And Zenitsu was immediately amazed, and as the women left after giving Tanjiro a way to contact them, they leave. Zenitsu would approach Tanjiro, asking how he's so strong. And Inosuke would then just say, "Hey, if you want to talk to Big Bro, Tanjiro, talk to me." Now, Inosuke only calls Tanjiro Big Bro because he refuses to admit to himself that Tanjiro is more like a father figure than a brother. But in reality, Tanjiro thinks that way too, just refuses to say Inosuke is like a son to him, as Inosuke would refuse to say Tanjiro is like a father. Kind of like their own version of, no, we're a little too young to have that kind of thought process. It can be taken any way you want, just don't make it pervy. But yeah. Now, with this, Inosuke would talk about how they're master swordsmen. They fight their demon slayers basically. Well, they're honorary demon slayers. In words of Rokudaki. Zenitsu has heard rumors about demons, but now they're being confirmed by two swordsmen. Sorry about this. I have to go real quick. So my nose is killing me. Okay, I'm back. So, Zenitsu would actually ask Tanjiro to make him strong, and Tanjiro would agree to this. So they kind of set, rented a small cabin in the woods. Like, this is a hermit that was just staying with his family for a bit. Like, he wanted to hang out with them, so he's offered Tanjiro his cabin to stay in for a few days while he hangs out with his family. Tanjiro would bring Inosuke and Zenitsu up there, and they begin training. As they train, Inosuke and Zenitsu are actually growing really fast, or mainly Zenitsu is. Inosuke didn't really need to grow, he just needed to perfect his style. And Tanjiro would slowly realize Zenitsu needs this kind of attention, this kind of training, because he learned this through Sabito, Mokomo, Giyu, kind of Rokudaki, and Sanemi, and Inosuke especially. But he learned the way to teach people and read their personality. And as he does this, Tanjiro was able to figure out the way to train Zenitsu, which would eventually unlock Tanjiro's thunder breathing. As he has unlocked this thunder breathing, he would eventually teach Zenitsu the first form of it, and Zenitsu struggled for the other forms. But Tanjiro would actually comfort Zenitsu every step of the way. Point where Zenitsu would unlock two more forms, the second and third form. But Zenitsu would struggle with other forms, till Tanjiro would actually admit Zenitsu could actually learn to make his own technique, which has to be very hard, probably impossible, but he does encourage Zenitsu to try his best. But as they're about to start training, the hermit comes back, saying, "Alright, you guys are done. You guys can just leave now." Yeah. So, yeah. Now, Tanjiro would rent a small plot, not small, he buys a small area of land with his money, and he proceeds to train Zenitsu there. Now, for the next year, Zenitsu would turn 12, Tanjiro turned 17, and Inosuke would turn 11. Now Zenitsu was able to learn his, let me pause to find the name of the technique. So, Zenitsu was able to kind of make his own version of the Thunderclap and Flash. And as he did that, Tanjiro thought it was very impressive and even proud of Zenitsu. But they do come across, they come across two people, that being Kane and Shinobu. Now, as Kane and Shinobu talk to Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu, Kane was kind of shocked to hear that Tanjiro is her age. And she does tell you, "Oh yeah, we had reports of a demon nearby, and we're gonna go slay it." Tanjiro does offer to come with them because he is an honorary demon slayer, in the words of the former water pillar. He's actually very happy to hear this, and says, "Hey, since you're the old water pillar, if you knew him, do you know Sabito, Mokomo, and Giyu?" Tanjiro would nod, saying, "Yeah, I trained them." And this one Shinobu says, no way, you seem too weak, you seem too stupid. Those guys are really strong, referring to Giyu mainly. Tanjiro explains things. And the dead calm technique's my move, I invented it. And that's when they froze, realizing Tanjiro could not be lying, because that technique only those three know of. No other Demon Slayer besides Sanemi knows the name of it. Because like, oh yeah, this technique is secret. And Shinobu did hear Giyu say it once, and Kanye's like, oh, what's that? And then she saw like Shinobu's reaction, like, oh, he must not be lying. So she offers, she says, I guess you can come with us, but are the kids okay? And Tanjiro explains that Zenitsu kind of made his own technique, his own breathing technique, which she's amazed by, and he explains that like Inosuke kind of invented his own breathing style. Zenitsu made a technique, Inosuke made a style. So she's amazed at the kids Tanjiro can raise. But yeah, they go all the way to the whole area where Doma is, and Shinobu actually gets like advice on how to use her sword because Mokomo was in a similar situation. She's not too strong. She's not too strong. She's very small and fast. So she just like give Shinobu some advice and kind of like the thread of fate, where she should slice or where she has the gut instinct to slice. So as her and Tanjiro talk about it, she even tries to do some slashes and see it. Eventually, she thinks Tanjiro's lying until he would point out where he sees it and would do precise slices. Sorry about my grammar. I'm messing up for some reason. But she can see that Tanjiro's aiming somewhere directly. He's not even looking at it. He's slicing it perfectly and very pinpoint. So she's able to know that it exists, even Zenitsu and Inosuke back it up. And Kane does explain that there's a similar technique he's heard of, but doesn't remember the name of it. But yeah. Now, eventually, when they end up going all the way to where Doma is, Doma proceeds to attack Tanjiro first, saying he has the biggest threat, even yells, this person could make me feel emotion. I sense he's the strongest. Now, as he goes for an attack, suddenly Inosuke would then say, beast breathing, second form, and would proceed to stab Doma right in the wrist. Doma doesn't really care, he just slaps Inosuke to the ground. But then Inosuke would just say, Zenitsu, you're up. Inosuke would hide. Zenitsu would yell, thunderclap and flash. And his own technique, thunderclap and flash, Godspeed. And then when he uses technique, he would proceed to make a large gash on Doma's back. Doma can even dodge or see Zenitsu. That's how fast he was. And yeah. And then we go all the way over to Kane and Shinobu. They're amazed that this display of skill, as then Shinobu would proceed to try her thread of fate technique. And they proceed to fight, but Kane has to intervene. And eventually, when like Shinobu begins trying to see the thread of fate, he's able to somewhat see it, actually cuts out Doma's eyes. She was aiming for his face, but thread of fate made her kind of just aim for his eyes with like just off rip for some reason. But yeah. And Shinobu's kind of amazed because that's the first time she experienced it instead of believing it was a lie in some way. But yeah, so with his eyes being cut out, Tanjiro would proceed to slash at Doma and stab him right in the neck, and almost cutting his head clean off with sheer speed and strength using Breath of the Sun. And he did decapitate Doma, but due to his blade not being a Nichiren, it didn't work. So Tanjiro almost ended Doma that day, but he did need a Nichiren blade, which he did not possess. But yeah. Now, eventually, Kane and Shinobu would actually head back to Demon Slayer headquarters after being patched up by Tanjiro. Tanjiro can patch up almost anyone, and if it's like he's patched up Sanemi a lot. Funny is that she has a lot less scars due to Tanjiro helping him. Sanemi, his scars mainly lie around mainly his arms and his neck, with a few one scar going from his collarbone to his chin, and another scar from his lower back all the way up to his left, his left pec. So there's scars like that. Not many are on his face. And Sanemi did reunite with Genya, and Sanemi did still find out that Kumino was a Breath of the Wind user, so they knew all that and everything. And Sanemi did make Wind Pillar, but this time Kumino was under him, so it was Genya. Then Shinobu would head back, and Tanjiro would actually request that they bring Zenitsu and Inosuke. As Tanjiro does explain, he'll become a demon slayer, but he wants a pillar to vouch for these two. Because he doesn't need a pillar to vouch for him, he wants to prove it with his own skill. But yeah, what was his name? I'll find his name real quick. So Shiki would actually would find out about Inosuke and Zenitsu, and when he hears about how a certain Slayer would introduce them, this would be very kind of shocking for when Honorary Slayer had introduced them to Kane and Shinobu, who Shiki's a little confused until you would see Giyu approach, as Giyu had been made the new water pillar with Sanmi, with Sabito and Makomo under him because they were not as strong as him, because his dead calm technique legit made his power quadruple with the way he was taught to use it. This is a lot more emotion behind his attacks, which did slightly make him stronger. But yeah. Now when now I'm pretty sure that Zenitsu was not introduced to Sabito, Makomo, and Giyu, but he was not introduced to Sanemi. I know that. Actually, no, he was, I think. So yeah, Sanemi was. No, he wasn't. But yeah, so Sanemi, Giyu, Sabito, and Makomo would see Inosuke, and then Inosuke's like, "Oh yeah, Big Bro Tanjiro told me and Big Bro Zenitsu to head here, with Big Sis Kane, with Big Sis Kane and Big Sis Shinobu." And they ask who Zenitsu is. As Zenitsu explains, he's a thunder breath user, or breath of the thunder user. And Inosuke explains that Zenitsu is really strong. He even made his own technique. As Zenitsu will kind of chuckle, saying, "So that's nothing compared to you making your own style." And some other Hashira come out saying, "Oh, that's impossible. That brat can have made his own style." And that's mainly Kyojiro's father. As Kyojiro's a slayer, but his father is still a Hashira. But yeah, so they proceed, the pillars begin to talk among themselves about Tanjiro, and Uyashiki says, well, if he's ever spotted in the Demon Slayer exam, he's gonna be promoted to probably a Hashira immediately. Because for one, he trained two people he trained three people that are almost Hashira level, or three Hashira level demon slayers, and then he trained another Hashira, and then he trained two future Hashira and impressed a current one. Tanjiro has Hashira level feats despite barely even using swordsmanship techniques. But yeah, so Tanjiro would actually proceed to keep traveling because we're leaving the other demon slayers behind because I have nothing to speak about them. Tanjiro would come across what was I thinking of? So, I'm thinking about this for a bit, sorry. But yeah, so basically Tanjiro would go through the woods, and he would find a family in the middle of a demon attack. His family being Yuichiro, or not Yuichiro, Muichiro. Family in the middle of a demon attack, and before the demon could get to Muichiro and his brother, Tanjiro would actually cleanly slash the demon's body in half, and he catches the demon, and just throws it right into the ground, as he would grab the other demon's half of his body and throw it out. Parents were not dying. Well, they were slightly injured, but they weren't dying at all. But they thank Tanjiro as he says, "All right, get your boys out of here. If you can walk and run, get them out of here. I'll gladly provide you cover. I can keep up with demons like it's nothing." Tanjiro would proceed to cover them, and would begin thinking about where Kane and Shinobu were heading from where he was. Yes, a few days ago, he can remember his track. He begins directing them towards where the demons' core was. As by the time he thinks they're far enough, he tells them, "Run that way," and say Tanjiro sent you. As Tanjiro's using his sense of smell, his barely good sight, and his hearing. I would say a mixture of everything to just find out where he was where he was when he met Kane, to where she was going. It's been a few days. So, yeah, it's been a few days, but he thinks he's correct. But he is. He's able to send them to the Demon Slayer core, and they get there in the matter of around 8 hours. They were wrong a few times, but eventually by the time they do get there, it's led to basically Muichiro running in, holding his father, but barely. And Inosuke says, "Where's their demon?" It's going to tell us a demon attack. that's when they say Tanjiro sent us. Zenitsu yells, "Wait, bro, Tanjiro's nearby. We gotta go save him." Muichiro says, "If you're gonna save anything, save the demon. That guy's gonna murder it. We saw him abusing it." Yosuke says, "Oh, never mind, we're safe." Zenitsu going back to training. Zenitsu would nod. As Muichiro would say, "Oh, can we need some help, please?" So the parents get medical attention, and Muichiro and his brother get proper help and everything. And that's when Muichiro would actually find out that that they were basically just a lot of people there were trained or related to Tanjiro in some way. Kumino was indirectly related to Tanjiro, and yeah, like Kumino was indirectly related to him. Sabito, Makomo, Giyu, Sanemi. Gen is also indirectly related, but then we have like Sabito, Makomo, Giyu, Sanemi, Sabito, Makomo, Giyu, Inosuke, Zenitsu, Kane, Shinobu, those people. Pause quick. Okay, so I forgot where I was, but I'm pretty sure Tanjiro was going through the forest. But yeah, so Tanjiro was going through the forest again, just being himself, and he would have saved Muichiro. Tanjiro had gone in from there. He saved Muichiro's family in general. But he would have proceeded, and he would have came across Jigoro and Kaigaku. Now, start to pause one more time because I forgot something in my living room. Okay, so you have Jigoro, who's still an old man, so I don't think his age would matter. It was just, he's old. I think Kaigaku, I assume he's just like around the same age as, probably like around the same age as like the main Hashira, so probably like 20, 21. He might be younger at like 19, maybe, or maybe same age as Zenitsu, just trained under Jigoro longer. But I'm betting he's the same age as the Hashira. But Tanjiro come across Kaigaku and Jigoro, and at this point, Kaigaku would probably be 16. Not 16, he'd be 17 like Tanjiro. So as he comes across them, Kaigaku would question who Tanjiro is because he could tell Tanjiro's a swordsman. And Tanjiro would say his name is Tanjiro Kamado, as that's what he goes by. He's born Tanjiro Kamado. Well, he's born Tanjiro Kamado. His legal name is now Tanjiro Kamado due to his adopted family. But yeah, so Tanjiro talked to Jigoro. Jigoro had heard the name somewhere before, but can't put his finger on it. And as him and Kaigaku talk for a bit, like Kaigaku's being more, like he's just kind of insulting Tanjiro or being really rude, while Tanjiro just replying very kindly, very nicely, not really being any form of disrespectful at all. But eventually, Jigoro then yells, "You're that Tanjiro!" Tanjiro says, "What do you mean, that Tanjiro?" And not Kaigaku. Jigoro then says, yeah, the Flame Hashira. He spoke to me saying that there was some random children running around teaching breathing styles to students. You taught lightning breathing or thunder breathing to a kid named Zenitsu, right? Kaigaku then froze, realizing that Jigoro had said if someone that knows thunder breathing and teaching random breathing styles, if he's taught so many breathing styles to someone, this man is a god among demon slayers. And Tanjiro says, "Oh yeah, Zenitsu. He's like my little brother." Kaigaku doesn't believe Tanjiro. Says, "Well, you can't be that Tanjiro. You're so young, like my age." Kaigaku proceeded to try to fight Tanjiro, but the moment Kaigaku pulled out his sword, Tanjiro punched him square in the jaw, breaking it and knocking him out. And Kaigaku hit the ground immediately and was just unconscious for days. But yeah, Kaigaku woke up a bit later. Tanjiro had actually kind of popped his jaw back in place. And as Kaigaku popped his jaw back in place, it's still kind of not too good. But he's basically not able to speak properly, but he can still make out some words. But he proceeded to train under Tanjiro. And Tanjiro, he hated Kaigaku's attitude, but still acted nicely because that's who he is. But he beat the living hell out of Kaigaku almost 24 hours a day until the attitude left. Or at least so Kaigaku would learn some decent respect, but also a way to keep his confidence. Tanjiro made sure that none of the students had lack of confidence. Even Sanemi knew how no matter how much he didn't want Genin to be a demon slayer, he knew that he could not ruin Genin's confidence, because if Genin didn't listen, no confidence would kill him most definitely on the battlefield. Every one of Tanjiro's allies and disciples know how important confidence is to Tanjiro. So Tanjiro makes sure Kaigaku keeps confidence, but also is able to keep himself in line and respectful. So be able to keep your ego in check, but be able to express that you're not someone to be messed with. Jigoro was very proud of this. Got my phone. But Kagaku is very proud. Not Kagaku. Jiro was very proud of what Kagaku became, and he even they were both able to learn, or not Kagaku was able to learn every version of thunder breathing except the first form because it was very hard for him to do it. But he went over Zenitsu situation where he can't learn any more than 3 breathing styles, so Zenitsu made up his own technique. And Kagaku was like, oh, so I can do better than him. But Tanjiro explains, no, if you fought Zenitsu right now, you'd die most definitely. Because the style, the technique he made up, I doubt that anyone else can match. Because I can barely keep up with it with my own eyes. And that's when Jigoro says, oh yeah, about your eyes. I can tell you're blind. Tanjiro frozen. No one pays attention to my eyes. They pay attention to my hands or my body. Kagaku looked at Tanjiro in his eyes and then actually looked closely as possible, and realized Tanjiro's more red irises were slowly fading to gray, and said, Jesus Christ, you are blind! Tanjiro says, I'm not fully blind. I'm slightly blind. Tanjiro and Kagaku began arguing about whether Tanjiro was fully blind or not, but Jigoro explained that there's a legend once that the strongest demon slayer was blind as well, and that he had a thing called the see-through world. Yes, the see-through world is not a rumor, but then again, it's never been awakened by anyone else other than the strongest demon slayer. I'm just, oh, is that what this thing is? I can see through everything. I'm just looking down at Kagaku saying, geez, Jeff, they're not that impressive either. Kagaku then froze saying, look back up, my eyes are up here. Tanjiro looked up at Kagaku saying, alright then, well, my apologies. But Tanjiro and Kagaku began kind of working on Kagaku learning his own technique or making his own. Basically, Zenitsu basically enhanced his speed double and also just enhanced his strength in the middle of a technique. That's why his is so strong. Well, Kagaku, his technique is basically just rapid slashes that would basically slice off an opponent's arms, legs, and head. But Kagaku would do that. And then he would make something like Iaido, which is just he calls it basically just Thunder Circle. That's the new name of the technique he had. Oh, Thunder Circle. As he would do that, basically once he does that, he proceeds to make a kind of it looks very slow, but it's actually insanely fast. Once he does that, he slices inside the circle full speed, and then the demon's body is basically destroyed except for the arms, leg, and half the head. So yeah, that's kind of what the technique that Kagaku had made. Jigoro was able to learn it, and yeah. And Tanjiro proceeded to leave, and eventually he would kind of just reunite with the Kamados. As he was kind of wandering through the countryside, and he had to stop in the middle of a field and lay down just to look at the sky, when he looked up seeing Nezuko. And, basically, Tanjiro at this point is almost 18, and Nezuko would be she's 7 years younger than Tanjiro at this point, so she's 10 years old. She looks down saying, I thought that was you. And it's just, when aren't you guys back? All the way to Japan? Nezuko says, give us a lot of money. We were able to make our own business and proceed to gain a lot more money to move up somewhere we're more elite. And Tanjiro says, oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. Tanjiro proceeds to sit up and talk to Nezuko for a bit, and she even brings them to their house. I'm very happy to see Tanjiro. His mother did not die. But as they talk for a bit, this leads to them kind of just getting along a lot better as a normal family because they haven't seen Tanjiro in years. But they also had heard about his reputation. They're very proud of his reputation because they raised this man. Eventually, Tanjiro ran out to go buy some food as he wanted to cook them his own meal. He wanted to cook for them. They didn't want some butler to do it. But now, as he left, Tanjiro was being stalked by some demons because Doma had reported the news on he was attacked by a demon. Now, by demon slayers. And the demons started to attack him, and Tanjiro looks suspiciously like Yoriichi, so this is kind of weird. And he moves on to send out some demons to Tanjiro. These demons mentioned the Kamado family, and Muzan appeared, attacking them. Tanjiro came back, Muzan left, but the demons were still there. Tanjiro, in a blind rage, murders every single demon there. And by the time people had heard what's going on, they walk in seeing Tanjiro punching a demon's head into the ground so hard that even the stone is shattering. And they called the guards as they rushed in. Are they even thinking that Tanjiro didn't do this because people reported him in town around the time the bodies have been dead, so to say? But eventually the guards bring up every body except Nezuko because her body still has heat. Tanjiro explains that, hey, he knows someone he knows an expert medic, and with his speed, he should be able to rush her there pretty fast as long as her bleeding stops. They're able to halt the bleeding. Tanjiro covers up Nezuko in a bundle of blankets, gets his clothes on, and runs as fast as possible. He had to change his clothes because he just got them covered in demon blood. But he runs as fast as possible, and he proceeds to run while crying and screaming that he's argued that his reputation led to her almost dying. Now, Nezuko's last bit of humanity was her saying these words, "Do not blame yourself." And she then proceeds to kind of die, but also switch between demon and human Nezuko. As Tanjiro would basically just everyone from Demon Slayer Corps, they could hear screaming and crying that Zenitsu could recognize as Tanjiro's tone of voice. And Zenitsu listened close enough to hear. Tanjiro then says, "I'll never let someone close to me die again." Zenitsu had yelled out Tanjiro is hurt. Now, no one else, they were just confused, how's Tanjiro hurt? And Inosuke then says, "Zenitsu, I don't believe you." Well, Zenitsu says, "I didn't say physically." So as soon as Zenitsu said that, they all run out looking for Tanjiro as they still heard him screaming and crying. But they go under a tree, seeing Tanjiro holding down a demon Nezuko as she is scratching it and trying to bite him. Now eventually Kane would grab Tanjiro from behind as Zenitsu and Inosuke embrace Tanjiro as Giyu questioned who Nezuko is. Now Tanjiro looks at Sanemi saying, "Sanemi, you know my story, you can guess who this is." Sanemi is the only one that knows Tanjiro's full backstory besides Inosuke, but Inosuke was his mind was full of training when he met Tanjiro, so he wasn't always listening to Tanjiro. He knows some of it, but not all of it because he wasn't listening half the time. Sanemi goes over Tanjiro just basically living with Kamados because his family had died, and that's when they kind of realize this is Tanjiro's adopted sister, and she's 10 years old at this point. So they all feel bad for Tanjiro, and eventually they call down Urokodaki and the other Hashira, other former Hashira. Kayaku had just graduated the Demon Slayer exams, and he had dominated as he got in first place. Gideon took them a little bit earlier because Sanemi made his reputation as Demon Slayer a lot earlier, so Sanemi took them earlier. But yeah, they arrive, and they proceed to basically try to treat Nezuko as Urokodaki does hypnotize her the same way. But eventually the hypnotizing doesn't really work anymore, but Tanjiro is able to convince Nezuko just mentally while she's asleep. And with this, she's able to actually embrace her human and demon side. She still can't really speak properly because part of the hypnotization didn't work fully, but it worked somewhat. The part that worked is Nezuko has no urge to eat flesh, but one of the side effects that, because Tanjiro was trying to speak to her mentally, that kind of messed it up. That kind of ruined her ability to speak. That's really it. But she does remember who Tanjiro, she remembers everything. Nezuko had woken up, and Tanjiro and her began talking. She can't really write either, but she's kind of learning to write. But Tanjiro is able to teach her basically hand signs because he thought it would be a lot harder to teach her how to write because his handwriting isn't the best. And Kane, the people who have the best handwriting are in the middle of missions and healing. So he thinks it'd be a little too hard and too much pressure on them. So he's like, "All right, I can teach you how to read, not how to read, but how to just basically how to do sign language." He teaches Nezuko that, because he already knew that just from off of a hobby he picked up during some jobs he did when he lived at Kamados. But yeah. Now, as Tanjiro and Nezuko basically learned fluent sign language, Tanjiro would actually proceed to teach Nezuko hand-to-hand combat, the basics of it, and to learn her blood demon art. And Muzan was amazed that Tanjiro was able to make Nezuko progress this far, and he does think that Yoriichi, this is something Yoriichi would do if this was someone close to him. Completely disregarding that Yoriichi's relatives live in the Demon Slayer barracks, basically. Because, we have, wait, to pause real quick, making sure get Mulich's brother's name right. Okay, so, basically, Muzan disregarded that, Mulichiro, Yoriichiro, and their parents are still alive and breathing almost less than a mile away from him because he's kind of just spying on them. But he's ignoring it because if he fights Tanjiro, he's worried the same thing will happen when he fought Yoriichi. He's worried that he may die because this is a very much younger Tanjiro, but this one Tanjiro doesn't have a Nichiren blade. As he wants to perfect his swordsman skills without a Nichiren blade first. That's his whole thing. Yeah, so Tanjiro does get a Nichiren blade, but Tanjiro's aura kind of immediately turned it, it upgraded the blade immediately just through time, with Tanjiro barely even training with it, but it's fully upgraded. And the sword maker is very happy with this. And Tanjiro is his favorite customer. And Inosuke did piss him off a few times, so Inosuke did say he preferred the blade like this, so they're able to put in automatic design, but also something different for Inosuke to make him a little bit happier with it. But now, something else. Tanjiro, like a few years past, like he's 17 at this point. Tanjiro's now 19. Kane and Senmi are also 19. Giyu's also 19. And during this time, it's like around the time that basically, so in canon, this would be around the time I think that Nezuko and Tanjiro are fighting, like Demon Nezuko and Tanjiro are fighting. Not together, like they're fighting each other. Pretty sure that might be around this time, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure it is. Basically, the first time they meet Giyu. That's the first time they meet Giyu. And Nezuko, she's kind of slowly getting some of her abilities back because Tanjiro and Araki are working on her mind, mainly. Tanjiro has basically upgraded from a basic normal sword to a Nichiren blade. And Tanjiro always wears a fox mask on the side of his face or on his normal face, or like covering his full face. And demons refer to him as like a myth because he's finished his job so fast, and demons that escape alive weren't fighting; they were just watching from a distance and ran away. Tanjiro kind of almost lost his full eyesight. He can barely see unless your hand is like directly in front of his face. Like it's only has to be like an inch away from his face, and then he can see it. That's really it. But with the Secret World, he doesn't have as much time as Yoriichi did, but he's experimented with it a lot more because he's been in swords a lot more, or he actually had to train with swords a lot more. So basically, Tanjiro was able to use Secret World a lot more. He was able to kind of see it, can see people's bodies, but only the outline of it and through their body, like their muscles, stuff like that. You'll see that stuff. And the demon pillars, they are training their asses off to basically defeat Tanjiro mainly because Muzan's like, yeah, if this guy fights me, I will die. Most definitely, I will die. And what chance do you think you guys have against him if he can beat me? So they're just training their lives away to the point where even Akaza worked his way up to take Doma's place and almost take the first Upper Moon's place. But he didn't yet, so, yeah. And what's the first Upper Moon's name again? Pretty sure it's like Akuno or Akino. I was thinking of their mother, my bad. But, yeah. So, Kokoku Shibo would be training his life away as well, knowing that someone as strong as Yoriichi is back. So he's very nervous and will proceed to master the Breath of the Sun better than he already did. Not Breath of the Moon, even trying to learn some Breath of the Sun techniques. And Tanjiro and Kokushiba are growing in strength side by side, but Tanjiro is slowly surpassing him as he learned more Breath of the Moon techniques, but his own techniques. Most Tanjiro had mastered breath of the Stone, breath of the Wind, breath of the Thunder, breath of the Flames. By the way, he beat the hell out of Rengoku's father. He beat the living hell out of him for what he saw he did to his family. So I'll just find his name again because I forgot it. So Tanjiro beat the hell out of Shinjiro, and yeah, it was not fun because Tanjiro heard what he did to his kids. So Tanjiro beat the living hell out of him, and his attitude changed a lot more, and he's more involved with his kids' lives. And Rengoku, or basically Kyojiro, is very happy with Tanjiro because Tanjiro's kind of like his quote-unquote older brother. Tanjiro's one of the younger Hashira due to his month being more down, I guess. Actually, I'm pretty sure he's older. He'd be older than some Hashira, but let's say he's like the middle child. Let's say that. Screw it, middle. But yeah. Now, actually, going to fast forward a bit to around the time like they take the demon entrance exams, like around that time would commence. Tanjiro would be one of the proctors, explaining that he is known as the Fox Hunter or the Fox Slayer. As he's Demon Slayer, but with Fox Master, he's known as the Fox Slayer. So everyone knows who he is. It was thought to be a myth, but now he's actually confirmed to be real. And then they have Genya supervising as well, as Genya's kind of just chilling. And during this time, Tanjiro's now 20, so it's like Sanemi and all other pillars besides Gyoma, who's almost 30. But yeah, Shinobu's not a Hashira. She's not. She's like an apprentice Hashira or a sidekick to a Hashira. But yeah, so everyone's age is now lining up chronologically. But yeah, eventually this leads to just the exam happening. The demon Tanjiro lures in stronger demons so he can just grow stronger demon slayers. So they make sure that no one dies, as they have proctors throughout the whole exam waiting. And Tanjiro does have a girlfriend, that being Kane. And Tanjiro is in between of dating Kane and Kana because they both like him. And he can admit they're both pretty pretty. Giyu is more interested in dating, so Giyu is now dating Shinobu. And Goku is not interested in a relationship at the moment, neither is Sanemi. And Kumino, he quit the Demon Slayer Corps because he had a pretty serious injury and had recently gotten married. So he kind of just supervises the training sometimes, but he's also a proctor, just hangs out there for a bit. And he's not Hashira level, but he's stronger than any average Demon Slayer. He's stronger than any average one. But yeah. And the demons that have been involved are the demon that was like abducting women in the village. Tanjiro caught him in the middle of his first victim. That's how fast he was caught. Tanjiro smelled a demon. Then Zenitsu had heard it. Tanjiro caught it. And then now he's part of this exam. Then we have Kyogai who's here. Then we have Rui. Rui's whole family is part of this exam. That's why there's so many proctors all throughout the forest. We also have some regular demons as well. So they have some high level demons here. And some people do they're able to stand a good chance, quote unquote, because they're not doing too well. It's just better than some average people. But usually, father demons have to kill some random kid until Genya will stop his punch with just his sheer brute strength. And he then says, "Come on, you don't want to do this, because if I do it, you're gonna die." And Tanjiro learned how to shoot a gun from Genya. He's pretty good at it, but Genya is still better somehow. And Genya did learn to use Wakizashi pretty well from Sanemi, because Sanemi had to learn to use one himself from Tanjiro. But yeah, so there's about the end of this exam. And only one demon is dead, and not one, just two. That would be Rui's sister and his mother. Those two had died because, they weren't too happy. So they kind of let themselves die, but Tanjiro kind of knew that they were going to try to control themselves die, so he wasn't too happy with it either way. So yeah. Now, Tanjiro would kind of he watches this, and he does say that everyone here can be under him, they can be his proteges. And these are just random miscellaneous demon slayers. I'm not going to go in depth on them because they're going to stay around not too long. So, yeah. Now, around the time Tanjiro gets his first mission in canon, Tanjiro trains them for that long after the first test. By the time he's done with them, they're pretty decent slayers. And Tanjiro is kind of known as the Sun Hashira, so he's his own stance on everything. But I kind of not pause. I shouldn't this part now because I have nothing else to do. And also, I literally put every demon from every arc in this forest, so I can't do too much right now. But I'm going to tell you right now, Tanjiro is actually in pursuit of the brother and sister Upper Moons. He's in pursuit of them right now with Zenitsu and Inosuke. And Zenitsu and Inosuke are better than the ones that you see in Muzan's castle. They're both stronger than that. Zenitsu could take down that Zenitsu and Inosuke with no effort. Inosuke can do the same. So yeah, Inosuke's hair goes down to his waist. Inosuke kind of started growing a beard, and yeah, so that's how you can tell he's not really full female. But yeah, so just off that, and we'll get to the next part. Like, subscribe, comment for the part. If you guys enjoyed.